Hello to all members of the South Asia Solidarity Group, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to reach across to you about how dire things seem to be down on the ground in India at the moment. We know that all over the world there's a complete right-wing shift, and the forces of dissent, forces of rationality are under attack. But we've had a particularly difficult time, even murderous time in India over the last 3 years. We've seen, apart from the earlier killings of Narayan Dabolkar and Govind Pansare and Kalburgi, we saw the most recent heinous shooting to death of Gauri Lankesh, a dear friend and journalist, on 5th of September. But as critical and important have been the brutal mob lynchings that have taken place, concentrated in Rajasthan, Haryana, but also taking place in states like Maharashtra, Kashmir, even South India, Karnataka. We've had many such incidents in Uttar Pradesh as well. Now, the victims of the mob lynchings, when it comes to loss of life, have overwhelmingly, over 90%, been Muslim. If you talk about beatings, very brutal beatings, where videos are also shared on social media, these have been Dalits as well. So, in effect, we are seeing the implementation through the mob, allies of the ruling party at the center, and the party that now rules also 12 states and 17 states in alliance, who enjoy a sense of complete impunity. I just feel that we need to reiterate that the government at power in the center, holding constitutional positions, is not run by the parliamentary wing of the ideology that runs it, which is the BJP, but actually it's run by the RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. And this ideology is committed to unconstitutionalism. It does not, for instance, believe in equality and non-discrimination. And that is the real crux at where the mob functions, at where the bullets function. Just two instances that happened today, which I wanted to share with you. One is of a particularly brutal lynching that took place not so long ago, June 29th of this year, in Jharkhand. Jharkhand has seen a spate of such lynch mobs. We have a BJP government there. And this particular one is the lynching of Alimuddin Ansari, a meat trader, that took place on June 29th. Today you had a hearing in the court at Ramgarh in Jharkhand, and we got reports, human rights workers like us got a report to show that Jaliluddin Ansari, an eyewitness to the lynching of Alimuddin, was in court today trying to give evidence as an eyewitness when he was completely threatened by Bajrang Dal goons. Now, Bajrang Dal is also a wing of the RSS and is also linked closely to the ruling BJP. And not only was he threatened in court, he was suddenly told that his wife, who had gone to get an identity card, had been killed. Now, we discover later that the wife of Jalaluddin has been killed in a very mysterious hit-and-run operation under very suspicious circumstances. So this level of violence and elimination, complete disregard for the rule of law, disregard for the fact that a constitution is in place which gives equal rights to minorities, Dalits, women, and all of us, suggests that India is actually on the brink of violating its own constitutional provisions and guarantee to life and a life of dignity. We also had another incident a few days back, which has only come out in the media between yesterday and today, of a singer, Ahmad Khan, also being brutally killed. Happened to be a Muslim but also a Dalit from Dantal in Jaisalmer district, simply because he did not perform properly, if you like, during Navratri. This is a particular Mangariyas, a particular singers who sing during the Navratri festival, and he was asked by the Rajput clan in the village to sing a particular rag, and because according to the claim of the Rajput clan, he did not sing it well, he was picked up from his home and completely he lost his life, and the body has full of marks. He appears to have been brutally attacked and lynched before his life was lost. So first they tried to pass it off as a heart attack. Now, what is this ideology that is at work here is something that we really need to understand. Gauri Lankesh, fearless writer and critique, wrote in the Kannada language and wrote about communalism, about corruption, about the rights of transgender people, the right of Dalits, and her editorial reached the far nook and crannies of Karnataka. M.M. Kalburgi before her was an academic who was not simply writing obscure texts. He was bringing Basava's Vachanas. Basava was this great philosopher, thinker of the 12th century who challenged both caste and misogyny. And in fact, Basava's followers, the Lingayats, claim that the first huge genocide that took place in Indian history, which has been buried from our history textbooks, is that the followers of Basava, over 100,000 of them were killed by the upper caste backlash that followed. Now the Lingayat community, which has today been completely co-opted by the Sanatan Brahmin Dharma, claims, a large section of it claim it to be not part of the Hindu faith, and so did Gauri say that, so did Kalburgi say that, and so do many Lingayat Swamis say that. So Kalburgi actually brought alive the Vachanas of Basavana to people, common people today, because they had been buried in the shadows and silences of our history telling. So the threats that free thinkers face, the threats that questioners face, it has been an age-old dilemma in South Asia. The dominance of the Brahmana and the questioning of the Shravana. And all these personalities, either the individual free thinkers or persons like Pehlu Khan, Alimuddin Ansari, Junaid, Muhammad Akhlaq, Ahmad, who are being lynched brutally simply because of their Muslim name and identity, Dalit name and identity. I know many Christian workers working in the far reaches of Orissa on health issues and education issues. They say we carry our identity on our sleeve, and it's very fearful, the kind of work we do, with the kind of venom that is used against Indian Christians as well by the RSS. So it's not a very happy place to be in, Modi's India. And to illustrate this, I would just like to share what I recently wrote in an article that was published by the Indian Express, which tells you how this ideology operates, because that will probably communicate the frightening impact of this ideology. One of the ideologues of the RSS was B.S. Munjay. He visited Mussolini's Italy in 1931. And when he visited, after his visits, he wrote his famous diaries. Now these diaries are a wealth of material for activist academics like us. And I was actually plowing through some of his diaries, because Munjay is a particularly interesting character, because after returning from Italy, he was responsible for forming the Bhosla Military Academy and even the Rifle Association at Nagpur. Now the Bhosla Military Academies at Nagpur, Nashik, Dehradun are strange creatures. They are actually military academies that are teaching young Indian men particularly to arm themselves against imagined aggressions. Retired army persons often train these young men into a militarized mindset. And sometimes one needs to ask why India needs this kind of aggressive militarized civil society training. It's never been asked to the RSS before. It's never been asked to the Bhosla Military Academy that flourishes. Anyway, coming back to Munjay, B.S. Munjay wrote this diary when he was returning during the partition riots of 1946 from Islampur in Bihar. He penned it very coldly when he said that as I was returning, an old Muslim caught my feet and he said, please forgive us Huzur, hum abhi Hindu banke hi rahenge. After that, Munjay writes that this is the magical formula that the RSS needs to follow, the fear of death. He said, if you let loose a fear of death, then you don't need to get into these proactive issues of conversion and all the other things. Then your 15% Muslim population, 3% Christian population will fall in line with the fear of death and the sword of death hanging over their heads. So what we are seeing in India today is the fear of death and a politics of hatred that is percolating right from the top down to the bottom. And it's very, very sad and strange that those sitting in constitutional positions meant to uphold the rule of law are in actuality working hand in glove with either the cow vigilantes or those who are responsible for hate mongering. A journalist from the Caravan, through an RTI application, tried to ask for a copy of the advisory sent out by the Prime Minister's office and the Home Ministry in 2016 after there was another uproar after the lynchings. The first major uproar happened in 2015 when Muhammad Akhlaq was lynched to death. You had over 200 artists and writers returning their national awards in actual conscience protest. Then you had another round of lynchings last year, and now we've had another spate of lynchings, killings in 2017. No place in a civilized country, but we're having them in India with repeated and frightening frequency. When this journalist from Caravan asked the PMO for the copy of the advisory sent out by the Prime Minister's office, he was refused a copy. Finally, from the Home Ministry, he gets a copy, This is an advisory dated August 9, 2016. And it's very interesting if you read that advisory that Caravan has quoted. The first 4 points of the advisory talk about how the cattle is worshipped, how the constitution talks about cattle worship and cow worship, and only in point number 5 somewhere it says, however, there should be no killings of human beings. So clearly we are seeing in place and in operation an ideology that values some humans as more human than others, some animals as more human than all human beings, and we are actually seeing hate and bloodletting on our streets. It's not a pleasant place to be in India. There is surveillance of journalists, there is surveillance of mobile phones, and as we've seen in Gauri Lankesh's case, the ultimate threat to free thinking, to this regime is the free thinking dissenting journalist who writes in her mother tongue, who communicates with large numbers of people, like Gauri Lankesh did, like Govind Pansare did, when he spoke about Shivaji kaun hota, who was Shivaji, and talked about Shivaji as the leader of the subalterns, as the leader of the small riyasats, who was not fighting a battle with Aurangzeb on the Hindu-Muslim issue, but was only questioning oppressive taxes. Shivaji, as we know it, had several Muslims in his ministry, in his army, in his military. So to try and appropriate Shivaji as a quote-unquote Hindutva icon is also completely erroneous. So this misleading and manipulation of history is so much part of this majoritarian fascist discourse. Are we living under fascism in India? We are living under proto-fascism. Extreme economic right-wing policies where public resources, our water, our land, our mines, our railways are being cynically transferred to private capital, and also a political, social, religious right-wing discourse that is privileging religion-based nationhood, something that the Indian Constitution completely rebutted and completely did not allow. So we are seeing, sitting in positions of constitutional governance, ideologies and persons who do not believe in the constitutional framework, and hence India is truly on the brink. Thank you so much for this patience listening. Thank you.